for example, at post-election violence, which was supposed to be what they were supposed to be addressing, the CPEV, the Commission of Inquiry on Post-Election Violence, CPEV, that was chaired by Mr. Justice Waki, delivered its report in 2008 and suggested the establishment of a special tribunal for Kenya, where perpetrators of post-election violence would be investigated and tried and punished so that Kenya does not face the same problem again. They have not implemented the CPEV report. Then there was the Trigler report that specifically dealt with the issues that bedevil our elections since independence and recommended specific things to be done. That Krigler report has not been implemented. Then we had the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation report that was chaired by Ambassador Kiplagat. Truth about problems that Kenyans have faced since independence. Justice to those who have been victims of problems that we've had since independence. And reconciliation. Now, together with accountability. That has not happened. This process is illegal. It is unconstitutional. They are looting public resources unlawfully. They have not stated what law allowed two people to set up a committee, handpick individuals, and not hire them competitively.
Let me ask
they
you,
have not.
Let me hold you on
they
that.
have not.
Let me ask you this, General. They say
Yes.
in response to that the process of the BBI is actually that of law. It is a process of bringing Kenyans together. It is part of the Agenda 4, which is being chaired by Fred Matiang'i in his capacity as the Interior Cabinet Secretary, so that any funds for that would be coming from a process which the President committed to for national reconciliation and healing. How do you respond to that?
And law, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Law is not established because somebody holds public office and declares one day that they are appointing two people to do anything. There is, in the Constitution, a process how constitutions can be reviewed. And there are only two that are obvious in this case. Either you do what Ekuru Ekot and his Punguza Mzigo did, you go out there, collect 1 million signatures, draft a bill, take it to the counties, bring it to Parliament, take it to the, no, not bring it to Parliament, take it to the IDC and do a popular referendum, or you go through the parliamentary route. Of course, the parliamentary route is limited to those aspects of changes that do not require referendum. Neither of these two processes were followed in the BBI. Not only that, I saw a letter written by Muhuri and Katiba Institute to those who are conducting the BBI, requesting.
Oh dear, General, it seems you've may have
okay.
There you are.
So I think Kenyans have a bad habit. It's only when I'm speaking that they are trying to call like crazy. I don't know why. So they are interfering with my connection. But let me tell you this. That the letter was delivered to the Secretariat on the 18th of December 2019. The letter requested answers regarding the legal basis for this group and asked for answers regarding what mandate they had to spend public money and how much money have they spent and how much money do they intend to spend. Those questions have not been answered.
But let me ask you this, General. Let me ask you this about that process that you're talking about, which is critical, because there's nothing in as far as we've seen so far to say that there will not be a parliamentary process or there will not be signatures or that there will not be a referendum. Indeed, on the contrary, what is illegal with Kenyans talking to each other and finding a way forward and then after that deciding whether this requires constitutional change at all?
You see, nobody has stopped us, even me and you now, from talking to each other, but we're not spending public resources. We are not taking money from the treasury. We are not organizing meetings that cost billions of shillings when 75% of our youth are unemployed. We are not having police brutalize people in Mwiki, in Majengo, in Mumias, and then you saw how even members of parliament were treated in Mombasa. You are not having a choreographed effort by people in power abusing their positions and public resources in order to conduct something that they only know what it is. But this I can tell you, if the process is not transparent, if the process is not owned by the people, and this process is not owned by the people, if the process is being forced, on Kenyans, then the process cannot be legitimate and legal. And this process, as I've told you, is illegal.
All right.
Okia Omtata went to court and under certificate of urgency has demanded specific declarations, have requested specific declarations from the court. That matter is not being heard. But the issues that it raises, the petition raises so fundamental issues that must be addressed first before some people collect themselves in an exercise that is clearly intended for political end to choreograph some kind of hypnotized zombification of Kenyans so that Kenyans can line up the way they did when Moi did is no longer, so that Kenya can be turned into a one-party state.
Right.
As we speak right now, let me just finish here.
Right.
As we speak right now, Anne, I'm speaking from Toronto because the same people that are pretending to be presiding over reconciliation, trying to bring unity, trying to talk about justice, have illegally broken into my home, abducted me, detained me, tortured me, then forced me out of the country, and have now refused to allow me to come in despite 37 court orders. So you can't be, Kenyans cannot be victims of these people playing games with them when they do not respect the rule of law. Anybody who is disobeying court orders cannot uphold anything that they are saying they are going to bring through the BBI.
All right, let me hold you there because we're going to talk about court orders substantially. Dr. Miguna, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon, sir. We're going to come back and talk about the obedience of court orders substantially very shortly. But just before we lose this point, because you have said that BBI is a process with a political end, today President Kenyatta has spoken in Nairobi and once again said that he has no intention to cling on to power post 2022. He's quite happy after serving the state to go home and take care of his family. Do you believe that?
I don't believe that because he also said that Miguna could come home and then he went behind my back and issued red alerts that stopped me from coming home. Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta is not honest. If he wants to say that, let him say that in writing. Let him do that in writing and then we will believe him. Let whatever he has declared in writing be filed in Parliament. Then we will believe him.
Do you believe BBI is an avenue for Raila to make his final stab at the presidency?
Raila is being used like a fool because he's a coward and a greedy coward. Raila will not be president, and Uhuru Kenyatta will be trashing Raila immediately after using him to get the term limits discarded. So Raila was used by Moi. Raila was used by Kibaki after the 2008 National Reconciliation Accord, and Raila is being used by Uhuru Kenyatta the same way Jomo Kenyatta used his father.
Why do you imagine that the Right Honorable Prime Minister, who has quite a significant following in the country, joining forces with Uhuru Kenyatta and others, would not be the president in 2022? Because
he has done that 5 times and failed. He did that in 1997 when he joined KANU, and he said Moi promised him that Moi would leave power to him, and Moi didn't. He failed then. Then he brought a referendum in 2005, and he said that was the route now to get power. He failed after he won the referendum. Then he said again that he would get power in 2007. After the elections had been stolen, there was a national reconciliation accord. He failed to negotiate even a significant position for himself. And then Uhuru Kenyatta, who was his deputy, and Ruto, who was just a member of parliament, then took power from him in 2013. So now he's just a pedestrian on the street and he thinks he can get power that he could not get when he was prime minister. Are you kidding me?
Wow. It appears that BBI will lead to a referendum soon if anything Senator James Orengo has suggested is true. I think he's even used the date of June. Do you think that is feasible, and does the country need constitutional change right now?
It is nonsense, because the same James Orengo said that he would remove Ruto through an impeachment. Have you seen the impeachment bill? Orengo is a sycophant of Raila Odinga and will do anything to get Raila Odinga to assuage his ego. Orengo knows that he's just playing games. There is going to be no referendum in June, and there will be no referendum this year, and there should be no referendum at all. You cannot spend 150 to 200 billion shillings on a referendum when 75% of Kenyans are homeless, basically, live in slums, are unemployed. The youth need employment. We need jobs. There is no social justice and economic empowerment of the people. You saw how Mildred Owiso was brutalized by the police in Mombasa yesterday, and you saw how the 4 young men were killed in Mwiki just last week, and you saw the young man who was killed in Majengo just the other day. You cannot talk about a referendum when Chris Msando's mother has not received an answer to who killed Chris Msando. You cannot talk to us about a referendum when Baby Pendo, Master Mutinda, Moranya Rangi, and many other Kenyans who were killed during the post-election violence have not obtained justice. What kind of nonsense is this?
You've talked about those unfortunate deaths that happened at the last election, and indeed that have unfortunately become synonymous with Kenya's elections. What President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga did has been hailed even by the international community as statesmanship, as a way of bringing peace. Do you see it that way?
No, peace is not the absence of bullets, because Kenyans are not happy. Kenyans are still being brutalized every day. You know, it is incredible to talk about peace when Uhuru is beating up his deputy every day. What kind of peace when he can't even have peace in Jubilee? And I'm not here defending Ruto, but I'm saying, what kind of peace does a so-called president preach when his own deputy and his deputy supporters are being tear-gassed, brutalized, even in the police stations? What kind of peace is that? What kind of peace when Miguna, who's in Raila Odinga, is forced to live in exile when the person he swore is in Kenya, eating with Uhuru Kenyatta? If my crime was to swear Raila in, then what is it that Raila is doing with Uhuru Kenyatta? How could it be that the person who administered the oath is guiltier than the person he administered the oath on?
Wow.
This is just insane. The kind of games that Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta are putting Kenyans through will not be able to be sustained anywhere else except in Kenya. Because in Kenya, the press, unfortunately, is not robust. So you are not having the perspectives of Miguna every day. You are not having Kiguta with the courage and the backbone to take on Miguna so that he can at least address the nation. So you have a process of zombification where people are parroting only one line. Enough of that. Right. We have a democracy. We ought to have a democracy. We have a constitution. If they believe in the rule of law, let them obey all court orders. Let them enforce and implement the constitution 100%. Let them implement all the reports I've talked about, including the Ndungu land report. We don't need another report.
All right. There are those, of course, who do not support your cause, Dr. Miguna, and they have said that you are simply a bitter man, that you and the likes of Dr. David Ndii, with whom you worked in NASA, are just angry because the handshake apparently stole perhaps your political chances, your chances to be in the next government? What do you say to those?
So, Anne, let me ask you a question. When they came to take me from my home, they came at 5:30 a.m. Where was I supposed to be taking power at that time? I was sleeping. I was in my own house. I was not doing anything, and I was not committing any crime. And if I have committed a crime, you take me to court. You subject me to a trial, a fair trial. As it is right now, I have won every single case that has been brought and that I have brought against them. Now, I don't have any power. I'm not even in Kenya. But I've won 37 times against an illegitimate regime. Now, imagine that. Look, just the other day, the Judicial Service Commission appointed judges to the Court of Appeal and to the High Court. Uhuru Kenyatta's job was simply to administer those judges' oath into office. He has refused to do that. A person who is a repeated offender, a viral subverter of the Constitution, cannot preach to us about constitutionalism. When the Supreme Court nullified his election on August 8th of 2017, he called them Wakora. He did not respect the court. I respect the court. That is not bitterness. That is just being right.
All right.
And you know what, Anne? There is nobody in the world, even Jesus Christ was not supported by 100% of the people.
Right.
When you are right, do not allow anyone who is wrong, who is repressive, who is unjust, to beat you into submission. And Miguna will never surrender and will never be beaten into submission because I am right.
All right. Dr. Miguna, I'm sure those who support the president will say, but President Kenyatta, yes, there are many court orders that have been disobeyed, but in the specific case that you have cited, he submitted himself to the process and we went back to a second election. But having said that, how do you get the state? How do you get the state, Dr. Miguna, to obey court orders?
Be accessed and audited. And Uhuru Kenyatta refused to allow that to happen up to today.
I'm sorry, Doctor, I may have missed you a little bit, but I was asking, how do you get the state to obey court orders?
Anne, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I say that the Supreme Court stated very clearly that before the rerun could happen, the IBC servers should be accessed and audited.
Right.
And Uhuru Kenyatta refused to allow that to happen up to today. Up to today, Kenyans have not accessed the IBC servers. The IBC has not been transformed. And any kind of election or referendum you're going to have cannot be credible and accountable and will not be legitimate.
Right. Dr. Miguna, I want to read you a quote from your former colleague, Dr. David Ndii, and he has said this, and I quote, "Let me be clear. The imperative for progressive forces is to send both Ruto and the dynasties home. But if, God forbid, we must suffer one evil, let us suffer Ruto. Him we have a fighting chance. If we do not uproot the dynasties in 2022, they will enslave up to our grandchildren," end quote. Do you agree with that view?
First of all, Anne, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can speak for myself and he speaks for himself. This was an interview with me, not an interview with Ndii. You have Ndii in Nairobi, you can interview him. I've expressed my opinion. The problems go beyond those individuals. And Ndii is substantively and fundamentally wrong. We need to transform Kenya. We need to clean up the entire system. And Ruto is part of that system. Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, the whole lot must go because they are part of the problem. You will not be able to extricate one from the rest. And by the way, these are less than 500 people. versus 50 million people. So people who think it is so difficult to remove 500 people out of, for 50 million people to get rid of 500 people is suffering from low self-esteem. The people of Sudan, the people of Burkina Faso, the people of Algeria, the people of not Libya, but the people before the despot took over in Egypt, right. The people all over the world, all have rallied, gotten into the streets, and removed their tyrants. Kenyans are not from another planet. We are not from Jupiter. We have the same intellect. We have the same moral values. We have the same energies and innovation. And we should be able to remove these organized cabals from the system so that we have a new, fresh start. Until we do that, we will be going round in circles.
One question before we talk about the method of doing that you're proposing. We have seen the upcoming election contest, which is still years away, already being shaped as a battle between dynasties and hustlers. Do you agree with that kind of framing?
I don't agree with that kind of framing. There are only two groups in Kenya, two classes in Kenya, the rich and the poor, the despots and the ordinary citizens. There is nobody else. All these other terms being used are being used either by the media, which is owned by the same people we are trying to remove, or those cowardly, those without courage are too cowardly to confront them. David Ndii belongs to the cowardly group, the fence-sitters, the people who run very quickly away from people who are trying to change the system. He ran away from me and said that I wanted to cause a revolution. So if he doesn't want a revolution, what does he want? Let David Ndii get out of his cocoon and get out of the bed from where he's hiding and come out onto the open. If he's a revolutionary, he has to join me. If he's a coward the way he is, he should shut up.
Dr. Miguna, you have made it clear that you believe a revolution is what is needed. You have also made it clear that you believe President Kenyatta is a despot and must be removed from power. How do you intend to achieve this goal?
You see, Kenya was once a colony, and we achieved independence. How did we achieve it? We achieved it by organizing, mobilizing Kenyans, patriotic Kenyans, and telling the colonial administration to go home. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Now, the same way that the Sudanese, people said, oh, Omar al-Bashir is very strong. He killed hundreds of thousands of people in Darfur. The man is a military man. The man is being supported by Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates and the United States, blah, blah, blah. Omar al-Bashir is gone. The people simply came onto the streets in their millions, and Omar went. Now, Mugabe, Robert Mugabe the late, people said Mugabe would never be removed because his Shona people were 65% of the population. The people came on the streets, and Mugabe was history. Everywhere else in the world, people have the power in their numbers, and all they need to do, come onto the streets peacefully, and chase these despots out of town.
All right. Dr. Ndii, I beg your pardon, Dr. Miguna. Dr. Miguna, please don't call me a zombie. Don't call me a zombie. It was a momentary...
But I don't know why you think I would call you a zombie, because you have a slip of the tongue. Right. I have common sense, Anne.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to give you two questions from our audience. I want to apologize. I don't seem to have your names here, but nonetheless, these were questions that came in on Twitter. One asks, how do you hope to change Kenya when you come back home? And are you the owner of the revolution for it to happen?
Number one, nobody owns the revolution. Revolution is transformation. It is overhaul of the existing power structures, economic edifice, social order. So a revolution, by its very definition, belongs to the people that are being brutalized and suppressed and exploited by a few handful of people who are organized and have been doing that since 1963. So no, I don't own the revolution. Nobody owns the revolution. And it is not Miguna to change Kenya. It is patriotic Kenyans to change Kenya. I have to ask you, the 75% youth who are unemployed, do they think that the system works? Of course not. The people who live in slums and have lived there since independence, do they think there was Uhuru, there was independence, and that there is something that this system delivers to them? Of course not. How about the average Mama Mboga? Do they think this system works? Of course not. How about the business people, the peasants, the workers? They see a Twoli straddling his big tummy from rally to rally, but not speaking about their welfare as the so-called workers' representative. So you need people like Atwoli to get out of the way so that the average Okelo, the average Miguna, the average Moran, the average, whoever, the average Kenyan can now start enjoying the fruits of their labor and the resources that they own. The land that has been stolen, the millions of acres of land that these people have grabbed. Right. We need those back.
All right.
We need that restituted.
Fair enough, Dr. Miguna. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but we cannot end before we talk about the current situation in which you find yourself after having made another attempt to return to the country, which was yet again thwarted. Very quickly, the government says that it is willing to issue you travel documents, but that this must happen at an embassy. Indeed, in the last, I believe, few days, we have heard even the Attorney General return to court and say that the court is issuing unenforceable orders. Basically, they're saying that in order for you to get your passport, you need to be at a facility where your biometrics can be taken, etc. Is this an unreasonable request from the state?
It is a reckless position by the state on a number of grounds. Number one, they took me away from my house in Nairobi. The court ordered they take me back to my house. They have refused to do that. They took my passport, which was valid when they took it from me on February 6, 2018. The court has ordered that they return the passport in its valid form. The court has not said I go to any embassy. Number three, the court has said that I'm allowed to come to Kenya as a Kenyan unconditionally. Instead of allowing me in, on the 26th of March 2018, they abducted me again, assaulted me, tortured me, detained me incommunicado, sedated me, and took me to another country called United Arab Emirates. They dumped me in Dubai, their own citizen, without papers, without anything. So how did they put me in a plane on March 29, 2018, when they did not have a passport? They didn't have my Canadian passport, and my Kenyan passport they had already destroyed. But yet, they still put me in a plane and dumped me abroad. The same way they took me out of Kenya is the same way they must bring me back. Lastly, even the Attorney General, he used to be a Court of Appeal judge, knows very well that once a court has issued a valid order, nobody argues with the order. The court did not lack words. The court was not incompetent. The court did not lack a way of phrasing those orders. The court did not say Miguna should go to an embassy abroad and reapply. There is nothing to reapply for. I want to come home. I have valid court orders. Those court orders must be obeyed the way they were issued. And if the Attorney General refuses with his honors to obey those orders, the court should punish him by barring him from holding public office, from conducting business in the court, and until he complies with all his other respondents. That's the way to go. The rule of law is paramount. Okay. Anybody who whimsically disobeys court orders should not hold public office.
Fair enough, Dr. Miguna. Let me take another viewer comment. If he believes in integrity, why does he insult people? And I suppose they're referring to some of your very fiery comments online, sometimes even to people who say they support you, General.
No, for example, you see, the problem with some Kenyans, not all of them, may be intellectual challenges, or maybe a problem pertaining to how they learned, or if at all they learned. Because when I say a despot, that's not an insult. That describes an authoritarian ruler who is cruel and brutalizes his people. That's English language. That's called a despot. There is no other way of calling a despot. If they want to create their own new words, I will use them. When I say Raila is a con man, Raila is a deceptive man who has deceived not just Luos, but Kenyans for the last 35 years. He is now involved in another cyclical deception, telling people that the BBI will solve their problem when he does not care about the Constitution. Raila does not care about the TJRC. Raila does not care about the Waki Commission report. Raila does not care about the Kiguta report. Raila does not care about the rule of law. Raila called me a dog. That is a person who has disqualified himself from governing. Because me, I've called him a con man, something I can prove. He called me a dog when he knows I'm a human being with a brain sharper than his. Because Raila is a bumbling bumpkin who does not know his left from right. The fact that you, the media, praise him does not make him anything. Raila has no intellectual acuity. Raila has no ideology. Raila has no principles. He's guided by greed and cowardice.
And yet, with all that, Daktari, there was a time when there was no stauncher supporter than you. What had persuaded you then that this was a man who could be president?
You see, that's another question that Kenyans ask because they think very shallowly, the Kenyans that do ask that question. When I supported Raila Odinga's quest in 2017, it was not because I thought Raila Odinga was any better than Uhuru Kenyatta or William Ruto. It was because he won an election. And I'm a person who respects the rule of law and the Constitution. And if I believe Raila Odinga won an election, it would be dishonest for me not to support his quest for electoral justice. That's the purpose why I swore him in. Because I still believe that he won an election in 2007, and he won another election in 2017. That has not changed. I've not regretted swearing Raila in because that was the right thing to do. I would swear my worst enemy in if they win an election. That's how principled I am.
All right, Daktari, perhaps a final, let me see if I can get one more question from the public. Or rather, perhaps I'll give you this chance now to make your final comments to the nation. What would you want Kenyans who are supportive of your views to do? And perhaps you may have a direct comment for the President or Right Honorable Raila.
My comment is this, and it is addressed to Kenyans. The country Kenya does not belong to Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, William Ruto, or any one of them now struggling this space, pretending to own Kenya. The Constitution of Kenya is not owned by them. The people of Kenya are sovereign. They have the right to self-determine, and they should be the ones making decisions that affect their life and the future of their children. We have to demonstrate that we respect ourselves well enough, that we adhere to the principles of democracy, constitutionalism, and the rule of law. So I urge all Kenyans not to support me, to support the quest for justice, the quest for honesty and integrity in governance, and the administration of public affairs in Kenya. And that means that all these people wasting public funds when the majority of Kenyans are unemployed and are suffering should be removed from power so that Kenyans can have possession of the instruments so that they can govern themselves. And that means revolution.
All right, Dr. Miguna, allow me to end on a somewhat light note. I've been told I cannot live without asking you. Kenyans on Twitter will not let me live if you do not tell them. Why are you blocking them? Why are you blocking people left, right, and center?
So, Anne, I've not blocked you. And I've not blocked the people working at the studio. There is a reason. Even though you work for MediaMax that is owned by the family of Uhuru Kenyatta, I've not blocked you. I've not blocked MediaMax. I've not blocked Citizen, which is owned by SK Macharia that supports Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga blocked me. Ruto blocked me. I did not block them. And Uhuru Kenyatta got out of Twitter because he could not take the heat. I only block malicious people that come onto my TL to abuse me and to distract from what I am discussing. I don't go to anybody's TL. I don't troll anyone. I simply speak my mind unwaveringly, uncompromisingly, and I will continue to do so. You see, I don't hold public office like Uhuru Kenyatta. Raila Odinga, earns from the public coffers through his party, which gets taxpayers' money. Ruto too. So they should not block anyone. But my Twitter handle is a private handle because I'm a private individual. It's like my house. If somebody comes and defecates in my house, I can lock them out of my house.
Oh dear. I hope no one will do that, Dr. Okay, I think we're out of time, but I'm told by my director, people are asking online, what do you think about Kenyan bloggers?
I think there are a lot of Kenyan bloggers who are doing well. You see, a blogger is a writer.
Right.
So I encourage them to continue writing. Writing is a positive thing. However, those who believe that blogging means that you are paid in order to scandalize people or in order to distract from national issues or in order to divert attention from serious issues affecting Kenyans, those ones are not bloggers because they are not writers. Those are just paid parrots like Kutuny, for example, or Atoli, for example, or any of the people that may be following Ruto in order to get handouts. There are a lot of them in Kenya.
All right. General, I want to thank you very, very much for your time this evening. Thank you for making your maiden appearance on Punchline, and I hope it will not be the last, and we'll continue covering your story.
Thank you very much. I respect you, and I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you very much, General. That's high praise. I don't know if I should end by saying Viva, but
you should say Viva.
All right, and have a very good day, and that is our time on Punchline tonight. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Anne Kiguta. You can continue the conversation online. Use the hashtag Punchline. Good night. God bless. See you next Sunday on this station. Bye-bye.